Hi, I'm Andrew Berman from the Mortgage News Network, and you're watching National Mortgage Professional Magazine, Mortgage Professional of the Month. And with us today, we've got Willie Newman, who is the President and CEO of Home Point Financial. Willie, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, Andrew. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So listen, you have an unbelievable history, but I want to get right into one of the things you talked about in your article is how you saw, early on in your career, back in the ABM AMRO in the first days, you saw that the mortgage broker model was evolving and growing. So I'm curious, what did you see at that time, where you just doubled down on, third-party originators and more specifically mortgage brokers, and what are you seeing today that has you, even an increased focus on the mortgage brokers and TPOs?
Sure. So started in the late 80s, and I think I've established in a number of forums that I'm one of the few folks left that did business with mortgage brokers in the 80s. So I guess that's the legendary part of my career, evidently. But what we saw was that there was the bank crisis in the mid 80s, and as a result, there was a number of really good originators who were becoming displaced, and they started to increasingly become mortgage brokers. And mortgage brokers at the time were primarily focused on, what was called then hard money or more difficult loans to do. But because of the sheer numbers and where the new entrants had come from, it became much more mainstream. Became much more mainstream in their orientation. And so we saw that there was a need to help fulfill what those new entrants from a brokerage standpoint needed. And so that fit really well with our strategy, which was we were a really small company, but we had ambitions of being a larger lender. And so it was a way for us to expand our distribution very effectively without having the overhead associated with, what traditionally would have been retail branches and retail loan officers. So, opportunity created by, I guess, crisis or dislocation in the banking sector. And then as the more we built the business with those brokers, the ones who spun out, the more we realized that they were really the key to the success was their ability to produce. And so we started focusing on whatever we could do to help them compete against either where they, maybe where they came from or the more traditional ways of originating mortgages.
Well, that's phenomenal. I mean, the story of actually how you did it is amazing, and you saw the opportunity. You see these brokers just gave them what they needed to do to compete on the street. But one of the things you did back then, obviously you kept 100% of the servicing, which you are doing with Home Point. Back then with ABM AMRO, you kept 100% of the servicing. And like every other servicer at the time, you were selling other products to them, looking for opportunities to refinance whenever you could. Why is it different from today to back then?
Right. So I think, the servicing, one, being part of a bank, we were a financial institution. And so servicing had a really good return associated with it. But as you know, and especially back then, because it was a little bit easier to originate a loan, there was a pretty significant amount of risk associated with that portfolio running off when, rates moved. And so we felt like a core competency that we needed to have was to develop a retention capability. And so we felt like those go together. So I think, as you know, we acquired the mortgage.com nameplate out of bankruptcy as well as their operations. And that became a wonderful way for us to connect with our service customers in a way that would have them think of us for their next mortgage, especially on the refinance side. So there was, kind of that connectivity and from a value chain perspective between servicing, getting the loan customers in the door, servicing those loans, and then having the opportunity to, typically refinance those loans through that functionality. I think today for us is different. We still see the same value chain, the same value in connecting the value chain. So again, originations, servicing, capital markets, kind of retaining control of that entire value chain. The difference for us is that because we are so third-party focused and technology and especially data have really evolved to the point where we feel like the best opportunity for us is to, one, understand what our service customers' preferences, but leverage our third-party originators and especially mortgage brokers in a way that will allow us to, in essence, have national coverage on a physical basis without having the physical platform of a retail network. So being able to deliver those customers back to our brokers in a way that provides the customer with excellent service and a really great experience, provides the brokers with an opportunity to perhaps do something that's more sophisticated than what they can do on their own. And for us to be able to retain the customer with the economics being a bit different, but ultimately creating customers for life for both us and for our business partners.
Fantastic, and heavily relying on technology to make that happen. Give the brokers the technology. I mean, how do we stay ahead of technology? Because I mean, an organization like yours that is, it is, looking to do the things that you guys are looking to do. It's not just about being, current with broker technology. It's like being ahead, like almost like, listen, I don't know about you, but I never knew that I needed an iPad or AirPods until Apple came out with this product, and now I can't live without those products. So for you, actually, like, how do you stay ahead of the broker's needs and going actually beyond what they even think that they need?
Right. So I'm going to go in the way back machine first, and then I'll bring us to the present, which, as we talked about off camera, one of the things that we developed at InterFirst in order to really expand our presence in the broker space was MOI.
Legendary.
Right. Thank you. Which is it was on the really first online broker portal.
Yeah.
And
totally.
when we developed it, no one asked us to develop it. What we saw a couple things. This was at the time where, now automated underwriting is a given, but back then automated underwriting was a new thing. And what we saw with that was that financial institutions or even large originators were starting to connect the front to the back, in a more integrated manner, but in really delivering that automated underwriting experience to customers at the very front of the process, or at least starting to. And so, doing business with the mortgage brokers, they really weren't able to deliver that same experience. And so we felt like there was obviously benefits and efficiencies to be gained by connecting the brokers to us through the portal. But really what we felt like was that was a competitive threat to brokers at large. Yeah. And so if we were committed to that space and that was such an integral part of our business model, we needed to protect that share and optimally gain share by helping them deliver a consistent experience that was at minimum consistent with what a direct lender could deliver. So that's really that was the genesis of MOI. So again, no one was asking us for that, but we saw that we felt like that would be either a competitive threat if someone didn't do that for them, or for us, it was obviously an opportunity to really grow market share. And then we expanded out the offerings associated with the portal, in line with what could really kind of create a better experience for the broker and ultimately a good experience for the borrower. And so today, again, a lot of the stuff that was new and innovative back then is table stakes or given or even advanced beyond that. But what we'd like to think about is I think we're centered very much on the borrower experience and then the business partner experience. And so when we look at technology, we don't look as much at the functionality of individual technology components as we do as how they will impact the borrower experience and the business partner experience. So that's how we're trying to stay ahead. And we have, in most of our technology actually comes through third parties, Andrew. So we have to, be honest, to be honest, pick our spots. And so we try to stay abreast and help our technology partners understand that if they have something on the leading edge, that we'll be right there with them. And so a good example of that is our Capsilon AU project. So, we're working on advanced automated underwriting with Capsilon in a way that will allow us to be much more productive internally, but also give a much quicker, more consistent experience to our broker partners and to ultimately to the consumers that come into our ecosystem.
So I got to ask, so with MOI, I mean, that was your own proprietary technology. You guys owned it, you built it up, and acquired. But so do you see actually that that today, because there's so many great vendors out there that are continuing to evolve their products, that it just makes sense to partner with them rather than develop your own technology that you develop it today, it's basically outdated tomorrow?
Right. I think for us, so we pick our spots with that too. So if you look at kind of our how we think about technology, the customer experience, whether it's a mortgage broker, whether it's a correspondent lender, or whether it's a consumer, we feel like that's something we have to control. And so we actually do proprietary development on the very outer layer, so to speak. But inside, we feel like we can leverage vendors in a very effective manner to be able to provide, kind of the guts of it can come from vendors. So it's really a little bit more of a hybrid strategy. But to your point, we don't feel like we have to be totally proprietary in what we develop. We think we have great partners. we think there's a lot of things that they can do to advance the ball, and we intend on leveraging that, being on the leading edge with them, but leveraging.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, great stuff. Really excited about the future of Home Point. And, listen, it's an honor to have you as the National Mortgage Professional Magazine Mortgage Professional of the Year. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. And I'm Andrew Berman.